Death toll in Gaza rises to 8,000 people as Israeli occupation expands ground operations. World Health Organization warns of the consequences of Cyclone Tej damage in Yemen. Senior Houthi officials accused of looting and smuggling Yemeni artifacts abroad. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Shazad Abdelbei. Israel launched the second phase of its attack on the Gaza Strip in what Prime Minister Netanyahu described as his country's second war for independence. This report has more details.
The Ministry of Health in Gaza announced that about 8,400 were killed, mostly women and children, and more than 23,000 injured during the Israeli aggression in the Gaza Strip. Israeli tanks and infantry pursued what Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called a second stage of the aggression. Communications were cut for the second time in Gaza, while Israeli bombardment continued in what was described by residents as the most intense in the 3 weeks aggression. Israel has allowed only a trickle of aid to enter. On Sunday, 33 trucks carrying water, food and medicine entered the only border crossing from Egypt, Rafah. The Israeli military spokesman Daniel Hagari said ground operations were intensifying, also reiterated calls for Gaza residents to move south, saying that they would have better access to food, water and medicine there. The Hamas military wing said its militants clashed with Israeli troops while entering the northwest of Gaza Strip with small arms and anti-tank missiles. Palestinian militants have continued firing rockets into Israel, including towards its commercial hub Tel Aviv.
After visiting the Rafah crossing, Karim Khan, the chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court, called the suffering of civilians profound and said he had not been able to enter Gaza.
I've just come from the border of the Rafah crossing. I'm now just on the outside of the compound, and we could see Gaza. At least we could see cranes that were on the territory of Gaza. We couldn't go any closer. I very much hope to be able to enter Gaza and also going to Israel on this particular mission. The suffering of children and women and men, old and young, is profound and it is ongoing. As the Secretary General of the United Nations has said, as the head of OCHA has said, Martin Griffiths, as the head of the World Health Organization has said, there's a dire humanitarian situation developing. We have active investigations ongoing in relation to the crimes allegedly committed in Israel on the 7th of October and also in relation to Gaza and the West Bank and our jurisdiction going back to 2014.
Violent explosions rocked the south regions of the capital Sanaa, which are under the control of the Houthi militia. Local sources confirmed that a series of explosions were heard in Mount Ebyan, west of the capital, with the clouds of smoke rising from the place. Media sources suggested that the explosions were caused by military training by the Houthi militia. The World Health Organization said extreme weather conditions and damage to roads hampered access for people affected by Cyclone Tej. This report has more details.
The World Health Organization said that extreme weather conditions and the damage of roads hindered access to people affected by Cyclone Tej in order to protect their lives. It added in a statement that while the Yemeni health system is already exhausted by 9 years of conflict, health facilities still lack specialized doctors, medical equipment, and the infrastructure necessary to cover basic needs. While the main roads linking the southern island to central Socotra were damaged, limiting access to these areas. Most roads leading to other governorates were closed, while local authorities and medical teams were unable to assess the amount of damage. The representative of the World Health Organization said hospitals in the affected areas also need fuel and medical supplies to enable rapid interventions to contain the increase in the number of people in need of services. He stressed that there is an urgent need for intravenous fluids, antibiotics, laboratory reagents, as well as medical supplies for cholera, dengue fever, and malaria. The World Health Organization re-established the satellite internet service at the Emergency Operations Center in Al Mahra Governorate, as it is the only means of communication available to coordinate response operations after the outage of the communications and electricity networks that were destroyed by the hurricane in the region. The health cluster led by the World Health Organization is coordinating the efforts of all health partners within the health cluster network in Mukalla City to move 3 mobile clinics to the affected areas, supporting 2 main hospitals, 3 secondary hospitals, and 61 public health centers. The hurricane caused the death of at least 7 people and the displacement of more than 1,000 people in Al Mahra Governorate, while 2 cases of minor injuries were reported in Socotra. 192 families left their homes and 314 homes were completely or partially damaged.
Sea tortoises in Yemen are prone to extinction, with 90% of them are female. The severe gender imbalance will continue until it brings about the complete loss of sea tortoises in Yemen.
لا ضعيف الذكور وخاصة في الفترة الأخيرة هذه يعني قبل هذا شهر يناير هذا تحصل أكثر شيء ميتين الذكور على الشواطئ من الوسط هذا يعني مليان الذكور إنه ميتين يعني كثير يعني باليوم نحصل 10 حبات 15 حبة مليان منهم يعني وخفوا بالكثير ما شيء زي أول لأن أول كان حصل لهم مخلوطين الذكر والأنثى الآن أكثر شيء الإناث.
هناك دراسات عملت في كثير من المناطق الساحلية في المنطقة الاستوائية وأثبتت ارتفاع نسبة الإناث مقارنة بالذكور لتصل حتى إلى نسبة أكثر من 90% من نسبة الفاقسات، وبالتالي سيعرض نسبة الذكور بشكل عام إلى التناقص وربما خلال أعوام قادمة إلى الانقراض للذكور من السلاحف البحرية.
Missam Project for Clearing Mines announced the removal of more than 600 mines last week. The project outlined that since the beginning of October, its teams have removed about 3,000 mines and explosive devices. The Information Center for Human Rights recorded 91 violations committed by the terrorist Houthi militia in Taiz in a month. The center said it monitored 53 cases of violations against private property committed by the Houthi militia, including complete destruction due to artillery shelling and explosive devices. Human rights activists warned against a continuation of Houthi militia's crimes against employees of international organizations. They pointed out that targeting humanitarian workers threatens to stop humanitarian work efforts in Yemen and exposes the lives of population to slow death. For years on, accusations are being raised against the Houthi rebels of stealing Yemeni artifacts. This report has more details.
Informed Yemeni sources revealed that dozens of archaeological sites in Ib Governorate were subjected to large-scale random bulldozing and digging operations by a gang specialized in stealing antiquities and smuggling them out of the country to trade them. It was found that this gang is connected to leaders in the Houthi group. This came at a time when a Yemeni archaeological researcher revealed the display of dozens of Yemeni statues and artifacts that had previously been stolen from several museums and sites, especially in Ib Governorate, in order to be sold through external auctions. The sources confirmed that archaeological sites in Ib are still witnessing random looting and diggings in search of ancient antiquities and inscriptions by antiquities gangs, by which the Houthi group's efforts to destroy and demolish the historical identity of Yemen's civilization continue. Those interested in antiquities accused the Houthi group of continuing the bulldozing and widespread looting of antiquities in the city of Ib and a number of its districts. They called on the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization and other organizations interested in heritage in Europe to intervene immediately to prevent the circulation of smuggled Yemeni antiquities in commercial markets and global auctions. Yemeni antiquities researcher reported that within the past 2 months, a gang specialized in stealing and trading in antiquities was able to smuggle many different forms of Yemeni antiquities, statues, engravings, and manuscripts. Some of them were offered for sale at public auctions in Arab and Western countries. The Yemeni expert revealed that an antiquities house in an Arab country had displayed a bronze statue of antiquities from Yemen, which was acquired for 400,000 euros from Paris.
Coming next in the news. A community initiative in Aden aims to empower the potentials of young artists. Welcome back. Yemen has been famous since ancient times for beekeeping and the production of the finest types of honey. This report has more details.
Yemeni honey has a long history, dating back to the 10th century BCE, and receiving international acclaim for its high quality. Predictably, this amber nectar may be found in almost every Yemeni home. It serves to sweeten many social gatherings and is valued not just for its nutritional and social value, but also for its medicinal properties.
The honey we produce comes in a variety of tastes and hues. Sidr is the finest honey available. It is harvested in October and has the highest grade. As-Sumra follows, with its season beginning in mid-March. Other varieties exist as well, such as Marai and As-Saifi.
Honey samples are chemically analyzed in specialized labs to guarantee their purity. The finest quality honey is then exported to countries all over the world.
We test the samples we receive from merchants with advanced HPLC instruments. We would like to reassure consumers that we thoroughly check all samples for quality. Yemeni honey, and Hadrami one in particular, is exported to nations all across the world, including but not limited to Gulf nations, East Asia, Europe and Africa.
Yemeni Sidr honey, one of the most expensive variants in the world, is derived from the wild Sidr tree, which thrives in Yemen's harsh deserts. The nectar of this tree is substantially richer and sweeter than others.
The third Yemeni Coffee Festival is going to begin this evening in the city of Mekhe in Taz. The director of the Culture Office in Mekhe district said that the festival is held over 2 days and includes a display of the finest Yemeni coffee. The festival includes competitions with in-kind and cash prizes for the public. Unleash Your Art is a campaign aimed to uncover creative talent and utilize art to promote the principles of peace. Hundreds of young men and women gathered in Aden using art as a vehicle to convoy their support for Palestine. This report has more details.
Amidst the current turmoil yanking at the fabric of the Arab world, Yemen's youth guided their brushstrokes to champion peace in Yemen and the world. Through the Unleash Your Art campaign, artists use a variety of themes and materials that connect to their traditional Yemeni culture, while also addressing a broader contemporary society.
I came across a few paintings and thought they were very promising, seeing as the creators are amateurs and professional artists. With sufficient attention from the governorate and government officials, all directorates will be able to put on such artistic productions of fine art and theatre.
We strive to achieve a few goals, such as spreading peace and love among students and diverting children's attention away from the harrowing conflict. We would like to see such initiatives continue. We had some fundamental background, but this 5-day course, although intensive, helped us grasp foreign concepts in art.
Peace is a fundamental human right, but with the events unfolding in Palestine, I have dedicated this art piece to the nation. This dove represents resistance. In place of feathers, it carries blades. Despite Zionism and occupation, Al-Aqsa is protected by God and Palestinian people.
The initiative not only sought to instill students with fundamental knowledge about art, but also to foster their creative expression and ability to counter oppression in the Arab world using powerful imagery. The Unleash Your Art project and campaign aimed to uncover creative talents and utilize art to promote the principles of peace. Hundreds of young men and women gathered in Aden, the temporary capital, using art as a vehicle to convey their solidarity with the state of Palestine.
Electricity went out of service again almost completely in Aden. Power outages hours increased to more than 13 consecutive hours compared to 2 hours of generation. Local residents confirmed that the service had witnessed a deterioration since Saturday, and it increased on Sunday. Here's a reminder of the main headlines. Death toll in Gaza rises to 8,000 people as Israeli occupation expands ground operations. World Health Organization warns of the consequences of Cyclone Tej damage in Yemen. Senior Houthis officials accused of looting and smuggling Yemeni artifacts abroad. This is the end of the news. Thank you for watching.